We are sailing from Carneiro Island to the Zapatilla Islands on the other side of Bastimentos Island in the Bocas del Toro archipelago. Marius and Mireille are captaining and hosting the four of us: Verena, Rod, David and Carol. Tony had to stay home to look after their dogs. We are relaxing and talking about our trip and what we can expect at the Zapatilla Islands. We learned that the English for the Spanish word zapatillas is slippers. Legend has it that the two islands were created by the feet of God as they touched down from the heavens. While we are relaxing, Salty and Milo are on duty and they are barking and warning the dolphins and other sea creatures to stay out of our way. I always want to know why people from different countries decided to move to Bocas del Toro. As you can imagine, there are many different reasons, such as it's an archipelago and the islands protect us from the open ocean. The islands are close to the mainland. The 9 main islands are in the Caribbean Sea. It is popular and tourism is increasing. It has pristine, unpopulated beaches and dense animal-filled forests. The local community is welcoming and friendly. The Caribbean island vibe is addictive. It is always very exciting when we feel the wind and know that the sails can be hoisted, and that very soon the engines will be switched off, and that we will sail on quietly. Bocas del Toro was declared a hope spot. Hope spots are championed by local conservationists. Hope spots are ecologically unique areas of the ocean designated for protection under a global conservation campaign overseen by Mission Blue, a non-profit organization founded by Sylvia Earle. Dr. Sylvia Earle says that the underwater mangrove ecosystem in Bocas del Toro is some of the most vibrant she has ever seen. Mangroves serve as a buffer between marine and terrestrial communities and protect shorelines from damaging winds, waves and floods. Mangroves are tropical trees that thrive in conditions most timber could never tolerate: salty coastal waters and the ebb and flow of the tide. The two Zapatilla Islands are ringed by golden sand beaches and coral reefs teeming with life. It falls inside the Isla Bastimentos National Marine Park. Its famous crystal clear waters and golden sands are ideal for snorkeling and diving during the right months. Our friends look at the videos of our lives in Bocas del Toro and they think we have landed in a tropical paradise. But we had to deal with change, moving from our country to a totally different country. Change is not easy. Whether the change is positive or negative, chosen or imposed, it almost always causes stress, uncertainty, and general unease. As Viktor Frankl said, we experience change the same as losing something. When we are no longer able to change the situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. We realized that to be able to cope with change, we had to gain more knowledge and understanding of ourselves as unique individuals, and that our challenge is to change ourselves rather than think we can change the people and the country that we move to. We arrived at the larger of the two Zapatilla Islands at dusk, and we saw a few other sailing boats already at anchor. Salty just had to go for a swim in the beautiful clear water, but we decided to rather wait for the morning before swimming. After our morning coffee and breakfast, we are ready to try out the new toys. The floating mat is a lot of fun, and Salty and Milo quickly learned to keep their balance on the mat. We had our swim, and it now was time to go and snorkel and walk on the island. We made sure that we did not step on any turtle eggs that are buried in the sand. As we walked, we could see quite a few areas where the turtles hatched, and we could see their tiny footprints as they dragged themselves toward the sea. We later learned that the critically endangered hawksbill sea turtles nest on the Zapatilla shores. The hawksbill's eggs hatch about 50 to 70 days after they are laid. The first hatching takes place at the end of June, and the very last can even take place in November. Snorkeling in the shallow waters around the island feels like swimming in a fish tank, with a variety of species swimming around you in schools. Coral reefs are important because they provide the spawning and nursery grounds that economically important fish populations need to thrive. Coral reefs also protects the islands from storm surges and erosion from waves. It provides jobs to local people through tourism, fishing, and recreational activities. Many medicines have been derived from coral reef organisms, including antiviral drugs, Area A and AZT, as well as the life-saving anti-cancer agent Area C. Coral reefs provide leisure activities such as snorkeling, diving, and fishing. It also attracts fish and other ocean life, which are a source of food for the local population. The Zapatilla Islands has beautiful tropical beaches, coral reefs, and a variety of exotic flora and fauna that you just must fall in love with. The fresh sea breeze and the abundant greenery have positive effects on one's mind and body. One can also see driftwood from small to very large tree trunks, and one cannot help but wonder where this specific tree grew and how it happened for it to wash up on this island. We found a lovely path that goes through the forest, and we just had to let our feet do the walking. The path is well kept and easy to walk, while we can marvel at all the trees and the plants that thrive here. We had to turn around on the wooden walkway going across the swampy area because it was not yet fully completed. Back at the boat, we just had to go for a swim and try out the floating bar. It was very hot in the sun, so we pulled the rubber mat under the trampoline of the catamaran, and Salty joined the fun. Salty went back on the boat and remembered that the trampoline was the place where we taught him to lift his leg during our sailing trip from South Africa to Panama. Unfortunately for Carol, he chose a spot on the trampoline that was above her head, and he peed on her head. Marius had a successful spear fishing outing, and we were looking forward to fresh red snapper fillets. Rod just had to have a photo with the red snapper so that he could make his friends jealous. We did not see the turtles hatching, but one morning early we saw little specks in the water, and by golly, it was recently hatched turtles. What a great sighting to see the small turtles swimming and trying out their limbs or just drifting. One of them only used his forelegs to swim. The weekend was over too soon, and we decided to stop at the Cayo Coral restaurant for lunch on our way back to Carneiro Island. The water around the restaurant is very clear, and we could see how the chef pulled live lobsters from a cage before preparing it for us. And that is the end of our trip. Another thing is that we want to thank everybody who participated in giving our Boston whaler a name. We had many great names that we could use, but in the end we chose Molly B. Thank you, Julie Jorgensen, for giving the name Molly Brown, because a Boston whaler is unsinkable too. We just shortened it to Molly B. We will contact you to participate in the naming ceremony of Molly B. If you enjoyed our video, please let us know. And if you have ideas on what you would like to see next, please help us and let us know what you would like to see.